Hey guys, it's me again, Orc Slayer What Ifs. Where we last left off, let's see, checking. Bell and Radagast and a few of the soldiers, as well as a large part of villages that thankfully remained unattacked, were able to get to what was equivalent to the Helm's Deep of their world. They fortified it, defended it, and now the elves are bailing them out, thankfully. Now after finishing finishing the battle after being stuck between a rock and a hard place, the elves came from backlines, cleaving through the goblins, orcs, or black orcs, whichever you prefer, and Bell and them managed to just hold out, thankfully. They were well fortified, well defended, and they did not have black powder, so, yay. That being said, the elves speak with their commanding officers, you could say, as Bell approaches them, speaking his name. As they're like, oh, yeah, Lady Galadriel sent us. Oh, Lady Galadriel. As then Bell speaks with them, asking them, what else are they supposed to do? We were sent here to bail you out. Now we are done. We return home. He's like, thank you. As he speaks with the commanders, you could say, speaking to them on what sort of things should they prepare for. As then, with this final speaking, speaking and such, I'm afraid to do this, but after they start strategizing, we get flash forward years in the future. So Bell's around 23, 24 in this time. As this is one of the great final battles. And right now, he's having a battle to the death with Saruman. He curses out Saruman for betraying them, and that he was the greatest of them as far as he knew. As Saruman starts spouting off an evil bad guy speech, the power, he promised power, strength, join me, that whole speech that all villains typically give. Bell will not have it. And this is like the grand final battle. As Saruman and Bell come to blows, you could say, each one bringing out magic of very high degrees. The armies are finally having their final battle. Saruman is being dealt with by some of the other Elven lords, you could say. As before that, each of them were having this great meeting. Not meeting, but they talked for a bit, you could say. As Sauron tried to persuade them to his side. With Galadriel, the Elven lords, and yada, speaking against him. Sorry. At the end of that, when Saruman tried to cast some dark magic, Bell forced him back. As he speaks to the Elven lords, I will deal with Saruman. As then he followed after him, as Sauron's like, he shall be tested. As he brings out his giant suit of armor, as he would in the thing. As he comes smashing his hammer down and trying to attack all of them. Elrond, Galadriel, and Thranduil are there helping him. As the three Elven lords go to fight Saruman. I believe Galadriel knows magics. Elrond is a very good swordsman. Same thing with Thranduil. As Bell is fighting Saruman, he's like, You should have stayed with us, Saruman. Your wisdom would have helped. As he's like, well, my apprentice, I've been promised much more. As he forces him back, you could join us, is what I would say. But I know your heart, Gandalf, or Bell. You would never. As then comes swinging in with his staff, trying to match Bell in close quarter combat, having learned a bit more. As Bell is put on his back foot with the amount of force that is actually being put into these strikes, surprisingly. As he returns with the same amount of vigor, swinging and clashing with Saruman as lightning strikes start going all around. For Saruman, he throws out a few dark magic spells, but he mainly relying on crushing his enemies at the moment. With any dark spell like that thrown, Galadriel uses her light magic to force him back. As now with Saruman and Gandalf, they're fighting up, I'll say, over a little cliff underneath them, as he's fighting, saying, "I wish you would have listened, Saruman. He is not stronger than us. Together we could have beaten him. He is not beatable. That is for certain." As then continuing the strike, as he says some dark words, like some black speech, he sends out a giant thing of, what was it called? Like dark blast, like dark fire. As then Bel counteracts with his own fire, speaking in another language. Not black magic, not the black speech, but a different one. Speaking in it, pretty much forcing his own flames to overtake Saruman's. As then he rushes forward, slicing and bashing with his sword, eventually pushing Saruman. As then when Saruman goes to hold up his staff to defend one last time, Bel speaks in the language again, bringing down his sword and slicing straight through it. With his staff broken, Bel says, "Your staff is broken, Saruman. Give up." As he's like, "Never." As then he goes to cast Fireball, but then Bel just quickly finishes him. He's like, "Forgive me, Master Saruman." As then with a few more lightning strikes and explosions, he rushes up top. He's like, "Goodness." Him rushing up top, he sees Thranduil being thrown away by Sauron, not Saruman. Galadriel is like on her knees, you could say, and Elrond is barely holding his own against Sauron. As then Bel casts Lightning Strike. Well, yeah, Lightning Strike. As a pure white beam of lightning comes crashing down on Saruman. As he's like, "My apprentice fails me, it seems. But he will be replaced in time. For now, come, light. Let's see what your might may bring." Smashing down with his mace, Bel dodges to the right, comes swinging in and stabbing with his sword, and uses Shatter. As he presses it against Sauron's mace, it blasts the mace backwards as Sauron has to take a step back. Then Bel rushes in again using what I'll call Molten, where it superheats in a quick manner. It's mainly used on metals and such for the wizards, so they don't have to focus on forges and such. As he brings it on the sword, on his armor, as then he brings down, and instead of bringing down his sword, he casts Shatter again, blasting off the guy's hand. As he's like, "Argh." Casting a few dark magic spells. Like, what was that one called? Corruption. Like, very dark magic sounding names. Corruption, Black Mist, Darkness's Heart, I guess. Each one nearly killing Bel in a way. But he's able to defend with his shield. As in when Saruman gathers a lot of the power he's able to muster, going into that fire shadow magic thing, as he comes bringing the entire might of his being, you could say, down, Bel says, "Galadriel, we must work together." As he uses telekinesis and brings Thranduil over and Elrond, he and Galadriel then put up a defense, saying, "Hold it, Galadriel. We may push him back." As he starts stepping forward, the army is almost done. But with the breaking of Sauron, we may prevail. As he's pushing forward, as he starts saying, again in the words in the other language, I'm not good at speeches, so I'll just say, Middle gods, whoever you may be, I ask you, grant me your strength, grant me your power so that I may push down this great darkness. For all the sake of the good folk in this world, please allow me. Grant me your strength and let my sword be your sword for the least a moment. As then pushing forward, stepping forward, he's like, I ask you this, gods, whoever may be listening, help me. As he's able to push closer and closer until he's right next to there, as then it looks like heaven itself shines down on Bel, as then it empowers his sword and he impales Saruman straight through, right where the heart would be, I say. As Saruman does the whole big bad explosion, as he's like, what? No! Pathetic weakling! No! You could say. Galadriel, Elrond, and Thranduil all are like, what the hell just... As Bel was thrown back after the explosion. Oh. As he picks up his staff once more, he's like, oh, I do not feel good. Sorry. As with speaking, as the orcs started going crazy and just started running away as soon as they saw Sauron dead. Most of his dark servants and commanders are gone. The only ones that really remain are the orcs. As we skip to a couple months, several months later, the orcs have been rooted out of every castle, keep, and everything. After Saruman, all those guys died, the orcs really had no leadership, except for like stronger, powerful orcs. But they themselves were pretty much due to orc society, weren't gonna last long, because backstabbing. As then they eventually, when the time comes like the grand celebration, new Elrond and all of them are elected, and at the Citadel, Bel is offered a chance to join the council, as he refuses. No, I think not. I wish to journey onwards, see what else lies beyond these lands. I've been hearing talk of a city where the gods reside. I wish to go see there. As giving goodbyes to his friends along the way, along soldiers he's fought beside, and along his best friend Radagast, he's like, see you, my friend. Sitting for the final thing, he visits his mother and father's grave. Hello, Mom, Dad. I'm leaving. It was nice. I finished what I started, or what we were a part of. I hope we'll see each other again someday. And maybe I'll see you up there eventually. Goodbye. As when he goes to depart, a little bird comes delivering a message to him from the lords of the elven races, saying thank you for your help, and that they will not soon forget you, Bel. As he's like, As he writes a message back, sending it with the bird saying, it was no problem of mine, Lord Elves. I did what I had to do. And may fortune favor your long lives. As I set off now, to go see this land of Orario. It's bound to be interesting, I'll bet. Sincerely yours, Bel. As when Bel was a promised legacy on the council, he would have been put as the Grey, putting his name as, might as well use title, Bel the Grey. As he would have been the White, but the others were kind of questioning that, so, they decided to just give him Grey. It's second powerful. As he sent the message onward, he got on his horse and started riding. Over a few months, maybe several months of traveling, he's able to make it all the way to, I'd say a few months, maybe even half a year of traveling. He makes it to Arario, eventually being welcomed in as an adventurer. Well, not an adventurer, but as a wizard. And before then, he stopped at the whole place where he heard more about Arario from the grandfather in the anime, where he speaks to him talking about where he came from, as they're like, we heard about that. There was apparently a giant, massive orc army that came. It's like, yes, there was. I was there. We were able to defeat them finally. Took a while though, so, As then when he gets up, he's like, thank you for your meal, but I wish to go rest. So he walks up the stairs, as several people are like, that's a wizard. You don't see many of those around these parts. They usually all flock to Arario. Yeah, but that's where he's going. But hey, if he survived that war over there, he'd probably definitely become an adventurer. He's like, most definitely. Sleeps in the inn and sets off in the morning again. With him setting off, he doesn't really run into any more trouble, thankfully. With that being said, he eventually makes it there and arrives. As he has his robe, so he keeps all his stuff hidden. So when he speaks to a few of the adventurers, from what I can tell in the anime, I don't know that much about the books and how they do things, but it looks like he just gets rejected by the adventurers. Maybe I'm wrong. But the adventurers looking at him, seeing the staff and everything, question him about being a wizard. As soon as he starts talking and such, they get all friendly. And as when he's about to leave, you see a halfling comes in, saying that he wishes to be an adventurer as well. I guess halfling, small person, whichever you prefer. That's a quick question. But anyways, as he's pretty much thrown out very roughly, similar to how Belle was, or at least two of them are. As then Belle sees this and walks out, helping the two of them up. Are you alright? Yes. Yes, we're fine. We're just looking for a familia. He's like, I was too. I am Belle. It's like, oh, I'm Frodo and this is Sam. It's like, pleasure to meet you. As Sam shakes his hand, he's like, so, how long have you two been here? As they start walking. We've been here for at least a day. He's like, the same is for me. So, wish to look for a familiar together. The only people I really know in the city. It's like, sure, why not? As then they set off, eventually, after not years, but I'll say not months, but a few days of looking, they haven't found anything. They need to start earning money to go into the dungeon, because with what Sam has been making, he brought provisions. Right now, they stay in the church, and eventually meets Hestia there. Hestia, being curious as to why there's a tall man and two halflings in her home. As they explain their situation, as Frodo says, forgive me, my goddess, and gets on bows. Same thing with Sam, and Belle just gives a nice little bow. Hello, I am Belle. This is Frodo Baggins and Samwise Gamgee. You wouldn't be happy to be a goddess, would you? Yeah. Ah, well. We are looking for a familia, so... As Belle can see the type of place she resides in, trying to always see who one person is, being a judge of character instead of one's looks, he judged after a while that Frodo and Sam were actually very decent folk. And in this time, when Hestia is trying to convince them to go to someone else's, well, she pretty much earns a spot in Belle's book as being a good person. As then they agree to sign on, and with that being said, they eventually go into the dungeon for the first time after getting registered and all that. Belle has a sword, his armor, and his staff. Sam has a nice little mace and such. And Frodo says he has this little knife. As Belle says, yeah, that ain't gonna cut it. As he looks around in his bag, looking around and eventually finding his first weapon. If I said he discarded it, I'm sorry. But he didn't get rid of it. He kept it as a reminder. As he pulls it out, saying, still sharp. As then he turns around and gives it to Belle. Well, not Belle, but Frodo. As Belle says, this was mine first. As he says, it will serve you much better than it serves me now. Now come, we are off to the dungeon. As he's like, oh, sweet. As he swings it around a bit, like, remember, don't cut yourself, Frodo. It's like, alright, Belle. As then they set off for the dungeon. And that's where I'm going to be ending this one off. Short one, but it's pretty good. Anyways, I hope you all have enjoyed this. Hope you all continue to enjoy this. And I hope you all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.